Metallica.
Judas Priest.
Iron Maiden.
Pete Townsend.
Angus Young.
That shit is so fucking awesome. I don't give a fuck who you are.
Scott Ian, the guitar player, before you were a guitar player, what was the riff that made you want to pick up the guitar?
It wasn't even a riff. It was just Pete Townsend doing a windmill.
Yeah.
Like this. Yeah, it wasn't even a riff. It was just seeing him on television doing that with his arm, and I thought it looked really cool. And it made me want to get guitar lessons.
Yeah?
Yeah.
When you started playing guitar, what was the first riff you learned? What was the first song you learned?
Could have been like either Wipeout or Blowing in the Wind. Those were pretty early on.
Yeah.
I don't
I love it. What was the guitar riff that you heard that you said, I have, this is making me want to play guitar?
You know, that's a hard one to say. You know, my heroes, Richie Blackmore, you know, Ted Nugent's one of my heroes. Not politically, but
Yeah.
guitar-wise, is one of my f***ing heroes, right? And I'm able to separate the two.
Yeah.
People go, F*** that dude, Gary Holt, doesn't like Ted's opinions. I love his riffs. That's all that matters, right? We're musicians.
Yep.
And I still follow Ted, the guitar player. Because, you know, he was bigger than life to me, you know, as a kid. Before I played guitar, the guy looked like he was like 9 feet tall, you know? And if they're playing, you know, cat scratch fever, you know. Something like that, you know?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Probably this was the first thing I ever figured out on guitar.
The Monkees.
The Beatles.
Oh, see, that sounds like the it sounds like the Monkees.
Yeah.
Same time
go.
period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, you know, that I realized that was yeah, kind of a surf inspired leg.
Yeah.
And then I started to learn something. Just like single note stuff.
Yeah. And those were also the first songs you learned as well when you picked up the guitar?
It's definitely started with Beatles songs.
Beatles songs.
Yeah, that
Awesome.
tune, that's Day Tripper.
Yeah.
Yeah, just real basic things, you know, to learn chords.
Awesome.
Yeah, stuff like, Let It Be. G, A minor, F. And it was just great for that type of stuff.
Awesome.
Probably the first song I probably learned to play was Creedence Clearwater Revival, Proud Mary. Which, funny enough, kind of almost sounds like a Foghat song. You know, I can't remember how it goes, but it's like the walking bass line, you know, is kind of the, you know, it's out of the simplest. These simple blues line. I started to put together that the walking bass line, as goofy as it sounded, and I didn't really understand the parallel with it, I started to realize, wait a minute, this is what like a lot of my heroes are doing in and around songs that were basically guitar-driven songs. They either had riffs or guitar patterns. What the bass players were doing is they were basically playing these walking bass lines in and around that. So I started to, you know, as best a little teenage kid could, I started to kind of understand the composition of what those guys were doing.
What's there not to love about metal and rock guitar? Tons of awesome solos, lots of licks, tons of awesome riffs. So when I started playing guitar about a year ago, the first song I learned how to play all the way through was Ride the Lightning with Metallica. Ride the Lightning by Metallica. Yeah, the whole Ride the Lightning album's awesome. And, you know, when you get to that one riff that's right there in the middle. Of course, nobody wants to play it like that. Everybody wants to go.
Well, the first riff that made me really want to play guitar had to be Judas Priest, Electric Eye. And I was a bass player at first, so I might even be playing it wrong, but I'm playing it low like I learned it, like I picked it out by ear the first time. I think someone probably showed me, actually. I wasn't that talented to begin with, so. Well, the first song I learned was Electric Funeral by Black Sabbath. And because being a bass player, it was single noted, so I could kind of pick it out with single notes. So Electric Funeral was pretty much the first one that I felt comfortable playing.
Kiss was the band that made me want to be a performer, but it was definitely Angus Young that made me want to play guitar. You felt all of Angus's emotions, and you felt when he was pissed or if he was happy or drunk or horny. You heard it all from Angus and his fingertips, and you know, I loved that he was able to just emote, just take hold of a single note. You just felt Angus. And I dug that so much. And those, I think one of the earlier, you know, tunes that I learned how to play was See Me Right Out. My buddy Dave Colberhouse had the little ghetto blaster, because that's all we could afford back in the day, the little single tape desk. And took like 4 8 batteries, and we pumped that, just the beginning, just the intro. Oi, oi, oi. Just that beginning part.
The first song that made me want to pick up a guitar and learn it was when I heard Dyer's Eve by Metallica. And at the time, I could not play it. But that's the riff that made me sit up and think, ooh, I want to play that. At the time, all I could do was... This is the riff that made me pick up, or want to pick up the guitar.
You know, Richie Blackmore was my hero, and like, I remember the first time I heard the first Rainbow album, you know, like, you know, Man on the Silver Mountain, just f***ing so awesome. Tune up for it. It's f***ing awesome shit, you know.
When you got your first guitar, what was the first song that you felt like, man, I got the guitar, I have to learn how to play this song?
God, I couldn't tell you. You know, I mean, when I developed the ability to actually sort of learn the songs, it was always Rainbow, you know, like, you know, Stargazer. Gates of Babylon.
All the stuff that I tried to figure out was like way hard, but my first riff that I ever learned was and my hands were like Love is Like Oxygen.
Yeah.
After that, I just started, you know, like, I think it was Def Leppard. Just that was, and they weren't really like the super metal band, but everybody was playing this riff.
Great riff, yeah.
Out of tune there, but yeah.
Yeah.
And then as it got more complicated, I started learning more single note stuff, and Rock Bottom was a big one. That was a big one for me. I was like, I learned that at Skeller.
Now, of course, that would all completely change when Iron Maiden came out, and Steve Harris just blew the roof off all that, because now he's the leader, he's the writer. Every song is driven by the bass, you know. You know, like Killers and Wrathchild and all this stuff. You're just like, it's like, okay, now that's a freaking bass player, you know.
A lot of my favorite riffs, I did a lot of that heavy down picking stuff, especially from like early 90s metal, late 80s metal, but primarily a lot of death metal from like the late 80s, early 90s. That's my jam, yo. Like, oh, Deicide, that Once Upon the Cross, that album is just ridiculously heavy. That shit is so fucking awesome. I don't give a fuck who you are.
And for faster stuff, Exodus for sure, Lesson in Violence. A lot of the speed picking I do is based on that classic US thrash. I played a lot of US stuff. I'll give you one of my German thrash favorites, Destruction. This is Invincible Force.
First Sabotage record was cool. They had a song called Holocaust, which was awesome. Wait. And Chris Oliva, the guitar player, used a lot of octaves. And I loved that, and I incorporated a lot of that in a lot of my playing. So loved early Sabotage, and Chris was really influential.
I became a big fan of death metal, and Cannibal Corpse were one of the first bands I started learning things on. The riff to I Come Blood, the verse riff was such a cool riff that I always play it. I always play it in sound check. When it cuts into the triplet feel chuggy riff, I just love it.